Welcome to a brand new mini-series. We're calling this one What's in the Details. I've got something really special for you, so let's go. Okay, so here we are in Vancouver on the other side of the train tracks in Crab Park. Throughout this winter, I was actually thinking about a recent trip that I did to Cozumel. And I did that because it was a dive trip. And I took a very particular dive watch with me. So follow me as we walk and talk. On that trip, I took a very particular dive watch with me, a Doxa 300T diving star. The diving star is actually the yellow dial. So there's something to be said about the design of Doxa watches and their colored dials. And this is something that I kind of wanted to talk to you about today. Do you need to be a diver to wear a dive watch? Well, nothing says you're a diver more than a dive watch without saying anything else. The oceans are an incredibly hospitable place for recreational divers. I know this because many years ago I taught diving. I saw many new students thinking about diving, taking their first breaths underwater, and then wearing a watch. I never really said that much about watches when I was teaching diving, but I always had a couple that I liked to wear. And that's the thing, when you're diving, it's about the gear that you're using. You don't have to have an expensive dive watch, you just have to have a proficient dive watch. And that's the key thing here, like with any of the other gear that you have. Going back to the color of the dial, this is actually the watch that I wore during that trip, and it was absolutely fantastic. I chose the yellow dial, or the diving star, because of the depth rating of the color. Yellow in the water column lasts the longest in the way of color out of most of the other dials. In fact, orange, which is the professional dial, that color disappears in a very short period of time underwater. The yellow will last to about 60 to 65 feet, depending on the amount of light that's penetrating the water. Orange is just the recognizable one. A lot of people associate Doxa with Jacques Cousteau. Jacques Cousteau needed a watch for his dive team in the early days when he was discovering everything, of which people were just absolutely glued to their TV sets once a week, watching this and seeing this incredible underwater world. So he needed a watch for his dive team. He searched around, and Doxa was one of those companies and was the company that was most willing to work with him to do this. So one of the key things that he introduced with Doxa was the diving bezel, because the diving bezel on a Doxa watch is unlike pretty much any other diving watch. Because at that time, before dive computers came into the world, you had to use these tables to actually figure out how long you could stay underwater and at what depth. So what he wanted to do was to actually compress that into the bezel of the watch, and that is what you actually see when it comes down to the watch nowadays. If you look at any Doxa 300 or 200T, you'll actually see, when you take a closer look, some unusual numbers going around the bezel. Those are your no decompression limits based on US diving tables for this dive. Now, your dive computer, of course, is computing your actual depth and the amount of time that you're at that depth and everything else. So yes, it's a whole lot safer. But if that happens to crash on you and you don't have redundancy, you can always quickly go back to your watch and see what exactly is going on and how long you can actually be at a particular depth. Because when you're a diver, you always have a depth gauge, so you can see your depth and then do a quick visual check to your watch. And this was the important thing about Doxa, and this is why Doxa became the diver's dive watch. Rolex was was more known for movies and the prestige and, yes, the durability, but Doxa, I think, was truly that watch that people really like to use diving. In fact, I have a friend that was in the Coast Guard, and his preferred dive watch was the Doxa 300T Shock Hunter. The Shock Hunter is the black dial. Unfortunately, he lost that watch. He knows roughly where it was, and I've always thought, wouldn't it be a fun thing to do to actually go diving and try and find that watch? I'm sure it would be encrusted by now. Doxa is really unusual like that. It's an affordable watch, and it's a well-built watch. The case construction on these watches is second to none. In fact, I'll put a little picture right here of a deconstructed case, so you can actually see what goes into the ceiling of a Doxa dive watch case. I absolutely love taking this watch on that dive, being with my daughter, with her doing her open water on that trip. It was very much fun to use this at that time for her open water. That was a warm water dive, which is very, very different to diving here in cold water, but nonetheless, you still need to know your time, and it's really good to have a quick reference for your dive depth and dive time. In summary, do you need to be a diver to wear a dive watch? No, but the thing here is, why wouldn't you be a diver when it's now so accessible to go to a dive store? Most of the diving instruction can be done from the comfort of your home. Go on to the PADI or PADI website. There's tons of information there you can actually get to start the journey. And then you can book a trip to a nice place to actually then go and do your open water dives. So diving is dead easy, and it's incredible under there. It really is. You can take my word for that. So, if you're wondering about where you can see Doxa watches, well, funnily enough, it's right over there at Roldorf & Co. Come on in, try them on, and have a look for yourself. And if you have any questions about diving, I can obviously help you with that. Okay, thank you for watching.